Well, hello, Hoodoo Loves. It's Miss Avy again. All right, so this is part 2 of the video series I am doing on how to choose a spiritual worker. For those of you who are new to my channel, you might want to not do this video first. Put this one in your list for later. Go check out some of my other videos because I primarily do tutorials about how to do hoodoo for yourself at home. But this is kind of a series that was done by request about how to choose a good ethical spiritual worker. And this half is about how to avoid getting scammed. Now, in the first video, I was really talking to you as somebody who has needed spiritual work myself, who had to go through the process of choosing a spiritual worker, and all of the drama that can go on with that I think I was able to avoid a lot of because I have a little bit of insider knowledge about how this thing works. So that was tips and tricks for that. This video, I am going to speak to you as a professional who has done spellcasting for a number of years, who has worked in the spiritual industry in general for more than a decade now, and has been in the spiritual community for a very long time. My goal with this video, again, I'm not going to name any names, I'm not going to vilify any person, I'm not going to recommend any person, but I am going to try to give tips here that will protect you from getting scammed by anybody. The first and foremost thing that you need to know to avoid getting scammed by anyone is this. Scammers who are pretending to be spiritual workers are predators, and they specifically prey on people who are going through emotional crises. And it's so important to understand this. When we are at a point in our lives where we are looking at magic and saying, this is the most realistic option to obtain what I need, that is a crisis point. It is a point of stress. And it's not just for no one. No one is at their best when their boyfriend just broke up with them. No one is at their best when they just lost their job. No one is at their best when they found out that they've got a major family issue that they don't know how to solve. That is not the time when we are at our best, at our most rational, and have our guard up. And so you have to kind of keep that in mind. If you are seeking spiritual work, you are vulnerable. And that doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you're weak. It just means that there is an openness in your spirit that an unscrupulous person could take advantage of if you allow them to. So start with that understanding that you are at a place where you are more than likely emotionally vulnerable. And if you keep that in mind, it's going to kind of raise your guard a little bit. And that will protect you from a lot of the stuff that goes on with, scams and flim-flams. So talking about what are some red flags that you can identify to prevent yourself from getting scammed. The very first and biggest one that I actually would identify is people who approach you offering to do spiritual work. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat on this one, because if you go in, like I see a lot of people do this, you go on Facebook and you say, is anyone here a spiritual worker? Can you help me? And someone sends you a message responding to your post. They're probably not predatory, they're just responding to your post. But on the other hand, if you go into a group on Facebook and you post, I have this issue and I'm looking for information about this issue, can anyone make a recommendation for what I should do? And you get someone sending you a message saying, hey, well, for this much money, I can do this thing that's going to fix all your problems. Don't do business with that person. And here's why. Even if they are a perfectly legitimate spiritual worker and they're very good at what they do, their focus is not on helping you. Their focus is on making a buck. They saw that you were vulnerable. They came in to try and fill the need and get your money. I just don't feel comfortable doing business with people like that. It's just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I will not purchase work from those people, and I make it a hard, fast rule. I do not ever reach out to potential clients and say, hey, by the way, I could sell you stuff. Never. It's just, I do not feel that is ethical, and in my experience, people who behave that way, at the very bare minimum, they are money focused, not service focused, and more often than not, they are actually scammers. So that's red flag number 1 to watch out for. Red flag number 2, somebody who will only do business through untraceable means like Western Union, MoneyGram, or the good old-fashioned cash in a magazine in an envelope mailed off to Timbuktu. Don't do that. Now, I'm not going to say rule out Western Union and MoneyGram altogether. There are certain situations for people financially where for you as a customer, it may be more advantageous to use those things, but there is almost never any situation where a legitimate business owner is going to prefer to do transactions that way. It's just, it's not. There is no legitimate business where Western Union is going to be easier than PayPal. There are countries that do just, and you know, speaking as somebody who has worked a lot with PayPal over the years, there are countries that have restrictions on PayPal. There are countries that PayPal works differently than it does in the United States and North America in general. However, I do not know of a single place where PayPal is actually completely prohibited. And if there are areas where PayPal is prohibited, there will still be other alternatives to things like Western Union, credit card processing, other website market providers, just other normal means of transaction and doing business. So just in general, I do not think there is really ever a case for a legitimate business to be doing their business and asking you to pay them through Western Union. So if for some reason Western Union works better for you, that's a different matter. But if the person is coming to you saying you need to send it to me through Western Union or MoneyGram, or you need to send me cash in the mail, don't do business with them. And especially do not do business with them if they do the, okay, well, you need to set up a security question because I don't have an ID and nobody knows who I am. Just no, just don't. Red flag number 3 here would be exaggerated language, promises of unrealistic results, and promises of specific time frames. Big, big, big red flag. If you've got someone who tells you that they are definitely, positively, absolutely going to get you results on what you want to happen within this amount of time, they are either lying or they don't know much about magic. I have been doing magic in one form or another for my entire life. I've been doing hoodoo for years. I can tell you that I have yet to ever see 2 situations that had an identical time frame. I have seen every variation under the sun. I have seen spells that the spell worked so fast I almost wondered if it was even what I did that caused it. I have seen works that took so long it was like, did I fail? Did I flunk? And then suddenly, bloop, at the last moment, everything worked out. I have seen both of those and everything in between, but what I have never seen is a spell that would reliably get somebody's boyfriend to call them in exactly 7 days. Never seen it. I have never seen that happen. Believe me, if I had a work that could do that, I would be richer than God because everybody would buy it and I would sell it for $5 a pop. But if someone promises you that they can get something done in 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, and you will see results in 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, they either don't know what they're talking about, in which case don't do business with them, or they are lying to you, in which case don't do business with them. And the same goes to be said for big exaggerated language, exaggerated descriptions of themselves and who they are and what they do, and unrealistic result promises. If somebody tells you that they are going to do a candle working for you that guarantees you a jackpot lottery win, they're lying. If they could do that, they would have. And they would have won. And they wouldn't be here taking your money. If somebody tells you that they have never had a spell fail, they're lying. Even if they've never had a spell fail professionally, every practitioner goes through a learning curve. Every practitioner has to start somewhere, and every student, as they are learning, messes up. If someone says, I am so magical, nothing ever fails, they're lying to you. Don't do business with them. And I would consider another red flag to be, I am the great granddaughter of the Grand High Poobah, super duper splendiferous from the bloodline of the queen of the country of the majestic and wonderful blah blah blah. No, they're not. They're not. They're just not. And even if they are, that doesn't guarantee that they can do magic. Folk tales like to tell us that magic is hereditary and psychic ability is hereditary and spirituality is passed down through bloodlines. And while I will say I think there are people that have a natural talent and maybe there is a genetic component, and I do think that there are families that have powerful ancestors, obtaining and accessing that power is not an accident of birth. It requires study and dedication and sincerity of heart and openness of mind and spirit. And you don't just get to pop into the world and boom, you're magical. It doesn't happen that way. So that would be kind of another red flag. So some things you can do to protect yourself other than watching out for these red flags would be, number one, do not send anybody money while you are upset. If you are crying, you are stressed out, you are anxious, you feel like you have to make a decision right now, don't. Walk away, get a cup of coffee, take a hot bath, take a walk, take a shower, whatever you need to do to relax and unwind, and think about it, especially if it is a large sum of money. And if you get back from whatever you did to kind of unwind and it sounds like somebody's been feeding you a line of nonsense, then probably they have been, and don't do business with them. Number two, ask questions. You should, as a customer, you have a reasonable expectation that a professional spiritual worker will be able to answer your questions, will answer them honestly, will tell you I don't know when they don't know, and will not get angry at you when you ask questions. A couple people asked me, what is a reasonable amount of questions to ask? And I would say, in general, a reasonable amount of questions to ask is when you feel like you have an understanding of what the work is, what it is supposed to do, and how much it will cost. And if there's anything that you are expected to do. That's a reasonable level of information. Now, there are people, and I have had people who will, send you 8,000 messages and 8,000 questions, and at this point, I don't do business with those people because I love them to death. But ultimately, I have found that when somebody is asking that many questions, if you find yourself asking 8,000 questions, probably there's something in your spirit that's telling you this is not a good thing for me to do right now. So if you just feel like you're never getting satisfied and you never feel secure about the idea of the information you're getting, then this is just not the right time for you to purchase work. But at the same time, do be willing to ask questions. Do expect that you will receive a reasonable answer in a timely manner and that you will not have your questions evaded. Number 4 would be to set yourself a budget. I mentioned this in my other video. Set a budget and stick within that budget. Know what you can afford. Do not allow yourself to be talked into something that is going to hurt you financially. It does not matter if you get your lover back if you can't pay your rent. It does not matter if you get the world's best job if you have something else in your life fall apart that makes it so you can't take that job. Don't let yourself get into a situation like that. Set a budget and stick with it. Another thing that I would say also would be a good thing to protect yourself from scams is have a very clear idea of what results you want. If you are going through an emotionally intense situation and you are still flip-flopping back and forth between do I want this solution, do I want that solution, do I maybe want to leave things alone, that is not the time to spend money. If you get in contact with someone and they do turn out to be a scammer and you are undecided like that, these people are more than able to push you into a decision, and they will always push you into one that makes them the most money. So wait until you have a clear picture in your mind of what you want done. Those would be the things that I would recommend just for avoiding scams. I think this video wound up a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. But go ahead and drop in the comments things that you, if you've had experiences with yourself being scammed, if you've avoided some scams, things that you have seen that are red flags. I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, opinions, all of that. And if you like this video, certainly like, share, I can't talk today. Like, share, comment, subscribe. And if you want to see more of my work or any of my other videos, you can definitely check out the rest of the channel or find me on Facebook at facebook.com/hoodoodelish. I love you guys. Stay blessed, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.